I have some troubling news. The Sheriff of Nottingham has kidnapped Hannah, and he said he would not release her unless we recorded this episode for her freedom. So in my hour of need, I turned on historical friends of our podcasting empire franchise, whatever. Ian and Corrina of Simpcasters
Hey.
slash also
Hello.
Glee Aggressive.
Also, formerly Glee Aggressive, currently
Right.
Simcasters.
Just as formerly Glee Boot, now Cullen of Not My Fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we all pivoted
Glee is
as needed.
finite, but podcasting is forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really bonds people. It trauma bonds
It
us.
does.
It's true.
And which is one of my favorite stories is our guest Jenna for Wizard of Oz.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because I messaged Ian and was like, do you like Wizard of Oz? Remember being Wizard of Oz? And he was like, not really, but I know somebody who loves the shit out of the Wizard of Oz. And then she was
Yep.
like, my husband is like, who are you gonna go talk to? Oh, just some strangers about the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's very much like a I know a guy situation.
Truly.
Yep.
But that was a great time. So I love the little world of podcasting. Almost every podcast I listen to regularly now, I know the people who host.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a parasocial paradigm. I feel like I'm just hanging out.
I mean, the best part of watching Glee and doing that podcast was hanging out with all the other podcasters in this cinematic universe.
The Glodcaster
Yes.
community.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Glee. It was a Glee renaissance.
It was a
Yes,
Renaissance.
it was.
Yeah, renaissance. But now we're here. We teased it in our Snow White episode, that we're doing a Robin Hood series, which we've been planning to do for a long time. It keeps getting like pushed back. Um, but we're talking about Robin Hood, which I think is one of the characters that is like the most remade. I think if there's a top tier of remade, it's like Cinderella and Robin Hood.
Yeah, Robin Hood is definitely up there.
Yeah,
It's
like I,
ubiquitous.
what'd you say?
I said it's pretty
Ubiquitous.
ubiquitous, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of like, and then like if tier two is like Snow White, Pinocchio, like they've made a
Yeah.
lot, but I think they're a lot harder to do than people think. Like I think Cinderella and Robin Hood are easy, and then King Arthur is somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle, maybe a Hercules moment.
Mm,
And
I
then
see
other,
it.
yeah, other stories are harder to adapt. But Robin Hood's kind of got all you need. Which kind of plays into how the history of how this movie was made. So we're starting, as we usually start a big series, with the Disney animated version, because that's like the touchstone almost everyone is familiar with.
Hmm.
So we're talking about Robin Hood 1973. Now, have y'all seen this movie before?
I had not. No.
Nope.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
was on my list of stuff that I should watch because I should have seen it by now. Um, so when we actually worked out what we would be watching, this it's worked out for me.
I was a princess girl through and through growing up. Like, if it wasn't a princess or the Aristocats, I had like no interest. Like, I didn't watch The Lion King until I was like in my late teens, I think. Like, I was
Wow.
not about anthropomorphic, unless it was Aristocats. Any of the anthropomorphic Disney things were not for me. Rescuers, no.
No.
This Robin Hood, no.
Well, Karina, that's funny because if you think about it, what is The Lion King but another set of Aristocats?
There was too much murder in it.
Too much murder.
Small detail.
A small detail. Yeah, I mean, That's interesting. See, I was starting to feel bad because when I was messaging you, I was like, I feel like, like a folksy Robin Hood has this folksy vibe. That might be what you're down for. And because I saw this movie, we definitely didn't do this, recorded off of Disney Channel on a VHS tape that we had in our house. Um,
Nope.
but that's, I think, where I saw it allegedly. But I was like, yeah, like that's a fun movie. And then I was watching this and I was kind of like, is this good? I liked it as a kid, and I think for kids it really slaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has a Hanna-Barbera cartoon energy,
It's baby's first Robin Hood for sure.
Mm-hmm.
truly. Which is why when we talk about the lore, we're not talking about Robin Hood at all. We're talking about the story that Disney initially wanted to make and then settled for Robin Hood.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because this came out in the 70s, which was like Disney's struggle bus era after the death of Walt. They're like, what do we do? And that's when this movie came out. So like a bit of the credits of this movie, it was directed by Wolfgang Reitherman,
Hmm.
story by Larry Clemens, Ken Anderson, Vance Jerry, Frank Thomas, Eric Clayworth, Julius Svendsen, and David Michener. Disney movies didn't have scripts till Beauty and the Beast, so that's why it's like the stories. So many people on story. Music by George Bruns, who was nominated for an Oscar for the song Love in this movie.
Hmm.
He was also nominated for an Oscar and Grammy for his work on Sleeping Beauty. So he
Wow.
did a ton of scores.
Yeah.
His
Nice.
last film score was Herbie Rides Again.
Slay.
It's like, yeah, not Herbie
Honestly.
Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan,
Yeah.
another Herbie sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure that I was doing that mental math right. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, it stars Brian Bedford as Robin Hood, Monica Evans as Maid Marian, Phil Harris as Little John, who you may know from Aristocats, Thomas O'Malley, and
Yep.
Jungle Book Baloo. Roger Miller as Alan Adale, Andy Devon as Friar Tuck, Peter Ustinov as Prince John and King Richard, Terry Thomas as Sir Hiss, Carol Shelley as Lady Cluck, Pat Buttram as the Sheriff of Nottingham, Billy Whitaker, Dana Larita, Dory Whitaker, and Richie Sanders as the four kids, Skippy, Sis, Tagalong, and Toby. John Felder and Barbara Luddy as the church mice. And Luddy also voiced Mrs. Rabbit. And you also may know her as the voice of Lady and Lady and the Tramp and Merryweather
Oh.
in Sleeping Beauty.
Hmm.
Get your work, girl.
Yeah. I do love like I think she was born in like the 20s and she like did all this stuff and then she worked for Disney. It is fun hearing some of the voice actors like stories.
Hmm.
Right.
This was a budget of 5 million with a box office success of 33 million.
Ooh.
Excellent.
So it did
Great.
well. Yeah, great. And this is in 73. Um, the movie was running short on time, so they recycled a lot of animation. Especially during the phony King of England scene. Basically, everything Marion does is either from Snow White or Aristocats.
I was gonna say you can watch that and be like, as someone who famously only watched the Aristocats, I was like, I'm clocking you, Marion. I can tell.
Yeah, all her moves she took from somebody else. She's watching YouTube dance tutorials, and Jungle Book as well. Like, so the different animals come from Jungle Book, Aristocats, or also Snow White. And they were gonna make a ride. I remember reading at one point for Robin Hood, and then they realized that like all the ride would be is like sticks, stones, and trees with just different characters because
Hmm.
there's not a lot of different settings in the movie. So they're like, um, but a new CGI remake is allegedly coming. We can only pray that it won't.
Oh, Lord.
I wonder if
Uh,
this one will have Beyonce in it though.
as Maid Marian. Allegedly they've paused remakes after Snow White. They'll probably
Yeah.
reinstate it after Lilo and Stitch. Unfortunately,
Mm.
I think Snow White, while not good, one of their best remakes because I don't like them. But have nominated Rachel Zegler for Pope in the Conclave.
So
I think if she saved us all from more remakes, a saint, a hero, and people would be so pissed because
I want to second that nomination.
yeah,
Yeah.
people decided that they hate her. And I'm
They're
like,
wrong.
yeah,
I'm
at
sorry.
worst, at
Right.
worst, she's a slightly annoying theater kid. And
Yeah.
Truly.
And who are we to judge?
who are we to
Right.
judge? We live in the same timeline as fascism and genocide. So
Like
like,
we can handle a theater kid.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think, yeah, they'd be mad that she was Pope, and I think she'd do great things. I think she'd be like, homophobia, we're done.
Absolutely not. Now, does anyone want to hear me sing No One Mourns the Wicked before I
Yeah,
go?
before we go. Yeah.
If
Just
only. We can only
we
dream.
can only dream. She comes out on that balcony. I'm like, I'm gonna start
Let
by
us be glad.
that. Yeah. I'm gonna come to St. Peter's. I'll be doing the entire Hunchback of Notre Dame soundtrack, playing all the parts. Uh, so yeah, let's pray the CJ remake doesn't come to be. Um, but how this movie, if we kind of get the Disney history kind of ties into the lore we're exploring today. So after the success of Snow White, they're like, what else we got? And they're like, Reynard the Fox, a medieval romance. This would be great. And then they were like, he's a little too anti-authoritarian for our taste as conservative Disney. But then they're like, maybe Chanticleer the Rooster. He might get his own movie. And they were hopping around with that. And then they were like, no, let's do Sword in the Stone. And that made some people so mad. That was part of like that led to like the Don Bluth exit and the movie Rockadoodle.
What the heck? Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Um,
So Sword of the Stone came after Snow White.
Sword in the Stone came out in the 60s. So like
Okay.
They had been toying with Chanticleer a long time. Because like after Snow White, they pitched a bunch of ideas. They were like, Pinocchio's our winner. And then turns out Pinocchio meets World War II, not their winner.
Mm.
And so then they were struggling, and then it was like, okay, Cinderella made a ton of money, and we get like the Alice, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty era. Sleeping Beauty was so expensive, there's no way it can make its money back. And then you get like the cheaper looking 101 Dalmatians, Sword in the
Yeah.
Stone, Jungle Book, like this era.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's a fun little journey it went on Disney, and then we get the like in the 80s they start beefing up again until
Yeah.
90s really got them their cultural dominance. That we all deal with today.
Deal with is correct.
Deal with this part. I'm drinking from a Disney mug as I say this, but I'm in Sherwood Forest right now because we're doing this podcast to free Hannah from the sheriff. So
Yes, you
Exactly.
have to.
This is a site-specific podcast recording.
yes, um, one of those little bunnies is like holding a ring light over me.
Yes. And you're doing amazing, sweetie.
You're great, sweetie.
You're so good.
Uh, so after Disney's death and the Aristocats, they're like maybe Robin Hood, but with animals. And Ken Anderson, who worked on Song in the South, was like, it was his idea, and he's like, I loved doing Song in the South. Let's do something in the Deep South that'll be so fun. And
And will age wonderfully.
yeah,
Like milk.
like milk in our FDA list now country.
Yep.
And the Disney execs were like, civil rights has happened since Song of the South. Maybe no, let's just do England. And Wolfgang Reitherman kind of took over, and Ken unfortunately allegedly cried when he saw how basic the designs were because he
Oh.
wanted to be a little edgier, like a
Mm.
ram as the sheriff. I think Fire Talk was going to be a pig at one point, and they were
Yes.
like, is the church going to be chill with that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, the Merry Men were cut so it could be a buddy comedy like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is definitely
Okay.
what I was thinking of when I
Yeah, I
watched
watched
this
this whole
movie.
thing being like, this is just like Butch
I
Cassidy.
think every 4-year-old agrees.
Yeah. Uh, but Ken, like he worked with Disney since before Snow White. He worked on Snow White. He designed some of the Fantasyland rides. He also did the dragon fight scene in Sleeping Beauty.
Mm.
So a man of many talents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Movie did well, received decent reviews, but Reynard the Fox, who this all started with, who the fuck is that?
Great question.
Great question.
You may recognize him from the Nun's Priest's Tale in the Canterbury Tales.
Yeah, I
Uh,
did read those technically.
yeah.
Technically, I read those allegedly.
Allegedly,
If my high school English teacher is listening, allegedly, I did read those
I did
Canterbury
read
Tales.
those.
We can't prove otherwise.
Yeah. all you
That's on my
canter,
reading list.
Yeah.
all you canter heads out there, gotta be
I
real
do know
excited.
people who are fully like in on the
Canter bunnies.
Canterbury Tales.
The
Yeah.
Canter Bunnies, yeah. So this story is like there's this rooster, Chanticleer. He lives with an old widow, but it's a beautiful hen house. He has seven wives. His favorite being, I want to say Pertolote, but that's very Spanish sounding. So it's probably like Pertolo, something more French, like Pertolo or something. He's handsome, beautiful singer. He has dreams of being killed, but his favorite wife is like, "Don't worry, I'll get some essential oils. You'll be okay." Um, but then he meets the fox Reynard, who's like, "Wow, yeah, show me how well you sing. Really puff up." And then when he does, he grabs him by the throat because he exposed his throat to sing. Again, a theater kid. Someone asks you to sing, you're not gonna say no. uh,
Can confirm.
Yeah.
uh, So the hens go into mourning, the barnyard's in chaos, so the widow and her daughters send the hounds after the fox. And the Chanticleer sees his buddies coming to get him, and he's like, "Yeah, you should just like turn around and boast to them that you like really got me." So the fox lets him loose to turn around and boast, and then Chanticleer runs up into a tree and won't come down despite flattery. So don't listen to flatterers. And afterwards, the host is like, "Wow, you're kind of a hot priest." So I don't know if it's because it's about flattery, but he's like, yeah, you got a big chest, a big thick neck, and a nice beard. Uh, and I'm like, am I in a gay bar right now
Right.
listening to this? Am I in a leather bar? Uh, so, but this tale is allegedly based on the fable Del Coq El del Goupil, the Cock and the Fox, another gay bar,
Yeah.
by medieval writer girl boss Marie de France. We brought her up in our Twilight New Moon episode because she wrote a story about a woman who betrayed her werewolf husband.
Oh,
Yeah,
Cool.
wow. The more
yeah.
you know.
The more you know, Marie de France wrote a lot of really fun medieval literature that was kind of subversive and was like implying that queer people exist and like kind of
Mm,
crazy stuff. Yeah.
wow.
Reynard the Fox also makes appearances in several Brothers Grimm like B-side tales.
Hmm.
And he was a very popular character in medieval literature, beginning debatably in Germany or like Lorraine, which is kind of like France and Germany mixed, specifically spread to France and the Low Countries. The names of all the characters are Old High German, but they really became famous in French, specifically in the Roman de Reynard, written by Pierre Saint Cloud around 1170. And it became so popular, Reynard began to replace the original word goupil for fox in French. So it was big, and I eventually I was trying to find this poem, and I was able to find it. The Library of Congress, shout out to them, had a medieval manuscript. I unfortunately can't read that. And I found a really long full version, and I was like, I can't read this either. It's so long. But I did find some academic stuff to give me a general idea because the only like book analysis I could find was in French. This happened to me with like Mulan. I was like, yeah, I can just like Google find the story, and it was like, oh, this is harder to find than I
Yeah.
thought. And
Hmm.
they're like, here's the transcript in Mandarin, and I'm like, hmm.
Hmm.
Huh.
uh, uh,
Cool. 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 Cool.
yeah. But the poems are about like a court of animals that are animals, but they also like ride horses and have lands. There's a camel that works for the Pope. So it's like kind of like furry culture.
Yeah.
Um, with this movie is a big it's I think it's the birth of furry culture. I do want to say that. I was at the Ren Fair a couple
Mm.
weekends ago and there were a lot of furries. And
Yeah.
it's hot and it's dusty. And as a former mascot, I'm like, why would you do this to yourself? It's
Th-
hot, it's
They're
dusty.
committed. They're
Yeah.
committed to their bit.
Good for them. I haven't forgiven that community because I went to a bar and my friend I was like looked up the bar beforehand. I was like, just so you know, like they're doing furry night tonight. And my friend's like, I don't care, it's fine. And it was fine because not a lot of people even have those suits. They're really expensive. But this woman gets up to do a performance, and the music starts playing, and I'm like, oh, she's doing Roar by Katy Perry. Animals, classic, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Makes sense.
And then the lyrics start and it's Brave by Sarah Bareilles.
I knew it. I
No.
knew it.
I got so mad. I haven't forgiven that community since. I was like,
That's
As a certified hater of Brave by Sarah Bareilles, I would have left.
that's so mean of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. Also, apparently, I heard Katy Perry and Lady Gaga are having a concert around the same day in Mexico City, or they did.
Hmm.
So Katy or
Hmm.
Gaga is now real. Um,
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good
yeah.
I feel
point.
like at this point there's a real clear line about who we
Who we
stand
stand?
Oh,
based on
yeah.
current events.
Based on
Yeah.
current events.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
episode would be very different today.
Yeah. Team Kesha slash
Hmm.
Gaga.
Yes. So this is a little off topic, but what are furries doing at the Ren Fair? Because the Ren fairs that I grew up with, I don't remember seeing any of them. If they were there, I did not clock them.
I
I
don't
think
think
it's,
furries existed when you were young, Ian.
No, I remember hearing about them.
Yeah.
but I mean, probably more when we were in like high school. I feel like that's when I
Well, yeah,
kind of was aware of a
that's when I would
furry
go to, that's when
Ren
I would go to the
Fair.
Ren Fair.
Well, I think they're more common now.
Hmm.
I'm also in SoCal, so that's,
Is that a thing there?
I just feel
Everything's
like,
a thing there.
yeah,
Touche.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
on me. My bad. You're right. You're right.
Um, but like they were, I think it's because people dress in costumes. Like I saw someone who was like a Mr. Tumnus satyr. Uh, Again, it was really hot. We were doing the pub crawl
Hmm.
too, so I was like, wow, 4 beers in the sun, I'm passing out. Not
Yeah.
exactly, but almost. Yeah, so again, as a former mascot, that was the least sexy I've ever been. I was sweaty, I was gross, I smelled so bad I gave myself a headache. So I see that and I see the dust, and I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? But they're committed again. They want
It's who
to,
they are.
yeah, it's who they are, and they're like, this is my chance to dress up and wear this fursuit, which they're
Okay.
really expensive.
Yeah, people put a lot of freaking work into those.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, anything goes at a Ren Fair at this day and age, Ian. Like you can show up in a Tron costume and people will be like, "All right, I guess
Yeah.
you're
Great.
a time
Great.
traveler." Sure. Like
Wonderful. We need
maybe
more
they're
of
in a
those spaces,
fursuit
I guess.
also with like a corset on and
I saw that.
if
Yeah.
my furry was in medieval times and you're like, "Yeah, slay.
Yeah.
Slay.
Enjoy your pickle."
You're like, I'm Reynard the Fox from the Roman de
Yeah.
Reynard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's like, "I'm gonna fucking slay Reynard the Fox at the Ren Fair this year."
They know
There,
the lore.
Yeah.
I did see someone as dressed as like Robin Hood as a crane.
I like that.
Oh,
That was
Yeah.
cool.
that's a
Yeah,
fun
that's good.
look. Um,
Nice.
but the story of Reynard, as much as I could put together from the like pieces of this academic article I was reading, um, is like he's a person, he's a fox, he has a wife, he has children, he has an estate. He loves to trick and cause mischief, so he's summoned to the court of King Noble the Lion,
Mm.
and for his crimes. And then the Bruin the Bear, I assume the Boston Bruins are named after him.
It's gotta be. I
Went
can
to
I gotta find out now.
he went to get honey, or he went to get him. Then he's like, "You should get honey instead." And then he gets stung. And then the cat doesn't want to go, but the cat goes to get him. And he's like, "What if I gave you mice?" And then the cat is tricked. So the king is mad, and he's there because the wolf, his arch nemesis, the wolf Isengrim, trigger warning, I get, accuses him of essaying his wife. And this is unfortunately complicated by the gross medieval standards because his wife is frequently unfaithful and has been unfaithful with Reynard in the past. Um, shouldn't matter. But she's willing to do trial by fire, but he's embarrassed because that'll maybe show that he's a cuckold, and it sort of implies that he kind of let it happen, the wolf guy, and
Mm,
then the cubs got
Mm.
injured, and so she's mad at the fox. So Reynard's not a nice guy, and he's supposed to be
no.
like a cheeky bastard, and the story is designed to like make fun of court and the church, and we're not supposed to feel bad for the wolves, but also yikes.
The
I think,
drama here.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, once you introduce certain elements to me, this is no longer like he. This is like,
Yeah.
oh
Messy.
no,
Oh.
yeah. Um, Eventually, his relative Grimbart the Badger gets him to come to court, but he murders some people. I think one of them becomes like a saint, and like the Hare Court and Chanticleer get killed, and the hens are upset. At one point, he's sent on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land because the queen Fier has mercy on him, but it's implied they may be having an affair. But the king is like, often you come back from the Holy Land a worse person. Uh,
Why
so
does
I,
this sound like my high school?
Yeah, this is some
I'm not
messy
even trying to
shit.
be funny. I'm like, this just sounds like suffering high school.
yeah, there's the Holy Land pilgrimage. You come back worse is giving the people who come back from whether it's their church mission or birthright or
Yeah.
Birthright.
whatever, and they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Ooh,
Or
they came back
or
worse."
your like student exchange program where you were
Yeah,
like you were
Your
spent a week in
Habitat for Humanity.
Barcelona and now you're a new person.
Barcelona. Yes, exactly.
Barcelona.
You
Yeah.
can do the
Oh, so sorry, I
th.
didn't realize I was still speaking Spanish. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. We went to, I was just in, I was visiting, now this is gonna sound, I was visiting Italy with my husband's family in April, and they're primarily Spanish speaking, so we went on the Spanish tour in Florence, but the tour guide was like Spain Spanish, and he was doing all the THs,
Hmm.
and
Oh.
instantly I was like, even though I'm like, this is just how you speak. This is it. You're not being pretentious, but I was like, ooh.
Right? You're like, ah, yes.
I'm
I've heard your
triggered.
type before.
I've heard your type. Yeah. But the queen allegedly having an affair with this fox is kind of it's like a parody of Lancelot and Guinevere.
Okay.
And then like
Mm.
the trial by fire thing with the wolf's wife who's unfaithful is kind of supposed to be Tristan and Isolde. And like the joke is he's not a hero like Tristan or Lancelot.
Hmm.
But he kind of becomes like a peep for the people, a commoner, but he is rich. So I guess that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Uh, no one is great. I think that the stag kind of comes out looking good. He's very honest, but a lot of his advice is like bad, which is a parody, I guess, of one of Charlemagne's advisors.
Mm.
But I think the fox gets sentenced when the hens are mourning Chanticleer, but he gets away. But what I got from all I read was like, when you say like you really have to be in the cultural moment of maybe something like Glee to like get all the references. I was like, yeah, you really had to like be medieval to
You
really be
had
like
to, you
You
had
picking
to
up.
had
be
to be
in the
there.
Reynard era to get the Reynard jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because like, oh, this is a parody of this. It's like when you watch a movie with your parents and they're like, "Oh yeah, like this comedy," and you're like, "What is? I don't."
I don't, not for
Hmm.
me. Okay.
Yeah. Um. But that's the lore I got. Um. So I guess if you could say Robin Hood invented furry culture, but maybe Reynard the Fox invented furry culture, and Robin Hood was just a step on the journey
Yeah.
Sure.
to Zootopia
Yep.
and the famous Zootopia abortion comic,
Absolutely.
which I
What?
We all know what you're talking
We
about.
no, we don't. We
I
don't.
again, you have to be that I only know that it's like a reference that people make, but I haven't read it, I haven't sought it out. I
Okay.
there
Here's
are
the
only
thing,
so
Ian.
many things I'm willing to have in my search
You don't have to
history.
Google it because at this point, if we talk about this Utopia abortion comic enough, your phone will pick up and your algorithm will just show it to you naturally. Next time you open
Right.
TikTok, it's going to be like, I heard you were interested in the Judy
These
Hopps abortion comic.
Yeah.
I will say, so obviously we've mentioned that I haven't watched this movie. The things I knew about this movie going in,
Yeah.
were that uh like one of the opening songs would like trend on TikTok. People like to use
Hmm.
that for like aesthetic things. And that both Robin Hood and Maid Marian show up on a lot of Hear Me Out cakes. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Like
a
there's a
yes,
very
lot
yeah.
of like
common.
my sexual awakening was Robin Hood the Fox or Maid Marian the Fox. Like
I've
like they
definitely
are
heard that.
definitely a one foot in the door into furry lifestyle, presumably.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hmm.
you're making a hear me out cake. It's not uncommon to see Robin Hood on there.
Yeah, I mean, that was common, I think, even before Hear Me Out. Like,
Yes, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I
Um,
think, I think there a lot of people that aren't even fully in the furry pipeline are like, Robin Hood was
There's
hot.
something here, you know?
Yeah.
right. So question. Watching this movie, is this how I find out the hamster dance was sampled?
Thank you, Ian, for reading my mind.
I
Yeah.
got you, girl.
Yeah. I'm sitting here watching. I'm like, is this a fucking hamster
The fucking
dance?
hamster dance for what? I mean, the hamster dance for what? Not this. This is great.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's
Ah,
yeah. So that and then the other sort of like main opening credit song.
the oodalali one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that from the Android commercial where it's just like two
mhm.
animals of different sizes being friends. And
which
for
is
that,
what this is. So yeah.
exactly, yeah, point Android.
Yeah, I thank you for remembering the hamster dance because I was somewhere where I was like talking about like the like annoying internet songs like hamster
Hmm.
dance was one of the first ones and people were like what are you talking about? And I was like
Oh my God, how could anyone forget the hamster dance?
Right. And
yeah.
it's not even like a generational thing because I feel like I heard the hamster dance like a week ago.
I love that you live the kind of life where the hamster dance organically shows up.
I
Uh,
I don't ask for these things, Corrina. You know this.
The hamster gods.
yeah, they
They're
spoke to
sending
you.
yeah. This movie I feel like there was like it was a very yes, it was very solidly like a boy movie, and there are a lot of people that were
Hmm.
like, people need to are sleeping on the Robin Hood songs. Like I put that like I play the Robin Hood songs to be like kind of like hipster.
Yeah,
And I
Oh,
remember
sure.
I'd hear it and be like, I'm sorry, this isn't on Beauty and the Beast level.
no.
Like
Correct.
like and is it even on Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Peter Pan level?
Hmm. The
I
Oodalali song is good if you want to feel like you're a little mouse walking through the forest. Like
yeah,
there is an aesthetic for that where you're like,
yes.
I want to feel like a whimsical creature who eats nuts and berries and has not a care in the world. And that's what it
Yeah.
was written for, and it does its job.
Yes.
But it's
Yes.
not a certified banger.
Right.
That is the perfect assessment of the music. It's very folksy and
Yeah.
it goes with this kind of like countercultural, like anti-establishment
Hmm.
sound. Um, but yeah, this movie I was kind of like, okay, I definitely like this more as a kid than now. Um, but it we do get a classic book intro.
Yes.
Yes. I love that.
And they're like, here's Robin Hood, but the animal kingdom, the furry community.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we have our
Yeah,
own version.
we have our own
Exactly.
version. And we get this kind of these intro credits with all the characters running around
Mhm.
before we go into the Oodalali where
Yeah.
we meet Robin Hood and Little John walking through the
Hmm.
forest. And I'm like, wow, it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
We've always said that.
Yeah.
I've always said that. Uh, he's a Robin Hood is a fox, Little John is a bear. You can tell this is an old story because there's two Johns.
That's
Right.
true.
Right. That
It did
stuck
not
out
e-
to me.
it did not I did not clock that. I'm like, yeah, of course. One's a king and one's a bear.
Yeah, classic. Um, yeah, so they're just kind of hopping around. The guards try and chase them, and then they're like, "We're gonna get caught one day, but
Right.
Not today.
not
Yeah.
Not today.
today." And we rob from the rich, give to the poor. Like that can't be bad.
Right. Yeah, even Little John's like, are we the good guys or the bad guys? And Robin Hood's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he's like, morality is a spectrum.
Yeah.
Exactly. Also during that like opening sequence, they're not making kids movies like they used to, for better or worse, because they introduce, oh God, what's his name? The tax collector, Sheriff
Yeah,
of Nottingham,
Yep.
and he's fully just making a noose.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
it's just wild to think about how in 1973 this kid's movie was like, well, we can always hang him.
Yeah. And it's like fully G-rated and they're like, this is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I do love even through the '90s how they were just kind of like, yeah, they want to kill him. They're gonna kill him.
They want to do a murder for
They want to do a
sure.
murder.
We're
Holy
all
crap.
about unaliving villains,
Yeah.
unalive people.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they don't make them like they used to. For better or for worse. Sometimes I
Yes.
like that, sometimes I
Right.
don't. But I am glad this wasn't set in the Deep South.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Progress.
Progress. I did just watch
Although,
Sinners this week.
ooh,
Oh.
Recommend. It's good.
Oh, nice.
I will say I feel like it's set in like England because Little John is not British even a little bit, right? Like he's just sort of
No.
bear. Like
Right.
he's got a nice bear accent. You're like, okay. And then Robin spoke and I was like, oh, Brit. Okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's I think there are a lot of movies that do that where some people are British and some people aren't, or like in Ratatouille, like some people are French, some
Yes.
people
Hmm.
aren't. It's just it's our Americentrism, whatever, where it's just
Yeah.
like everyone's American unless I don't know, they're a little
Unless proven otherwise, yeah.
proven
Right.
otherwise. Yeah. I mean, but famously, like in Snow White, there were raccoons and chipmunks, which don't exist in Europe, or at
Hmm.
least Germany. So there, we've always been like,
Oh,
how do we Americanize this?
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Uh, so they're like, oh, look who's on his way, the royal coach with Prince John and
Hmm.
his advisor slash boyfriend, Sir
Yeah.
Hiss.
I was gonna ask if Prince John was one of those famous gay-coded Disney villains.
For sure. I feel like arguably the first, I would say like a Hundo P gay coded. Um, I think I have said all Disney villains are gay. The
Yeah.
exception being, I think Gaston debatable. I think the evil judge in Hunchback is straight.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think Cinderella's stepmother is straight and very homophobic.
Yeah.
And I think Maleficent is homophobic. I don't know if she lands either side,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
her enemies are like a lesbian throuple. And then I said that on this podcast, and then the dragon of her caught on fire at Disney World. And I was like, she's
There you
pissed because
go.
I called her
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think I say she doesn't like love. And so
I
I think
knew.
she's homophobic. Yeah.
Okay.
It could
But
be
yeah,
internalized, It could
yeah,
Exactly.
be self-hating there.
I could definitely see it internalized there. But yeah, I think Prince John is like he's definitely like he's Scar, who's also very queer coded.
Right.
The like younger evil gay brother,
Yep.
Yeah.
classic. Um, Prince John in real life is the person that made them write the Magna Carta.
Hmm.
You
Oh, that's
know,
right.
he is
That's
was
right.
famously unpopular. His mom
Yeah.
that they mention a lot is medieval girl boss Eleanor of Aquitaine. So multiple medieval girl bosses this episode, and we'll go into the historical context more in other Robin Hood movies that are a little more interested in that. But so like Prince John, classic stock villain
Yeah.
for a story. But he's like, I love money, I love taxing people. I'm like, is this Congress?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm watching this. I'm like,
Oh
oof,
man.
a little too close to home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this climate.
Oh boy, yes.
And Hiss is suspicious because John sees these two people in drag on the side of the road. They didn't, as far as I heard, they did not use the slur I was expecting them to
They
use.
didn't. I
No.
was listening out for it.
And I was like, oh, okay. So they're fortune tellers. Uh,
This this is what like first time I was like, oh, I don't know if this movie is for me because I realize one of my least favorite tropes in movies is deception, which is ridiculous to say because like so many things are built on the trope of someone lying and you be discovered. It's
yeah.
the same reason I can't watch Camp Rock. Like it stresses me out too much
That is a
because
pretty
Okay.
rough lie, though. I will
I
say, of
know
all the
Okay.
deception movies, it's like such a dumb one. They're
and I
like,
know
girl.
like please. And I'm like, obviously this is a very quick ruse that they're going to pull, and because I'm vaguely aware of the story of Robin Hood, they're probably gonna get away with it. But I hate the stress of being like, these two people are lying so hard right now, and at any moment it could go badly for them.
I'm sitting here thinking, oh, what did you think of Twelfth Night? And you went with Camp Rock.
Twelfth Night I've seen enough times that I know how it's gonna go. This is
Fair.
also
Yeah.
probably why I hate Dear Evan Hansen though, because that's just
Oh,
one big
sure.
Oh,
lie that's
I
waiting to
mean,
blow up.
that's the whole premise. That's the whole
Exactly.
show.
yeah. I do think that a lot of people saw that movie when they made a movie and were like, wait, this is the plot? And
Yeah.
didn't, yeah. Our last episode, we talked about the new Snow White. So we talked a little bit about Pasek and Paul. And
Hmm.
I believe
My
they're,
enemies.
yeah, I mean, I unfortunately, I like know it's cringe. I tend to like their music, but I do think they write songs that are designed to be covered by a YouTube children's choir.
I
Yeah,
think they've never done anything wrong and that they should hire me for whatever they choose to put their money into next.
that's
Yeah.
true. You should hire Ian Brodsky. He's not
Yeah.
affiliated with me.
And I was thinking about this today actually on my run that I felt like some of their lyrics for Snow White were a step in a more specific direction because they reference things that are specific to Snow White. And if you take it out of the context, wells,
Right.
kingdoms, you can't just apply that to anything. Whereas like Rewrite the Stars, that could be in any situation.
I mean,
Is there a great like because You Will Be Found is equal to whatever that one Greatest Showman is.
Yeah.
yes.
Is that also equal to a Snow White song?
Oh, this
Is
is
there?
me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh I don't
Gobi.
know. I think their best song is Waiting on a Wish. And honestly, give it the Oscar nom. It's not going to beat Wicked, but give it the
You
nom.
can give it a throw to bone,
Mhm.
as it
Yeah,
were.
because if Amelia Perez could get nominated,
Girl.
yeah. But
I
actually, I liked the music I mean, not Gal Gadot's song. I think that was performed and written the lowest on the totem pole. But I like the other songs.
and I will say I know their earlier work pre Dear Evan Hansen and they have a lot of good stuff pre Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah, and I
So I know
like
they
Dear
have
Evan
it in.
Hansen.
Too full of lies.
I think they've never done anything wrong and they should hire me for whatever they want to put their money into next.
I mean,
Robin Hood the Fox musical,
musical.
anyone?
Yeah,
Honestly, Ian, you could probably do that.
I will
yeah, I
say
could see it.
I feel like when Cullen and I were talking about what movie to do, I feel like you did say I had Robin Hood energy, and I will take that. If I saw this movie when I was actually a kid, that would have been my whole fucking personality.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I was like, I think you would write songs that could, yeah, you team up with Pasek and Paul, Robin Hood the musical, maybe no foxes, maybe just
Oh no,
human Robin
I
Hood,
think keep all the animals. It's animals playing anthropomorphic or people playing anthropomorphic animals telling the Robin Hood
like the
story.
Cats movie.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. This is,
Exactly like the Cats movie.
Exactly. No notes.
yeah. So, yeah. Okay, perfect. I think this will be very successful.
Speaking of ways that they don't make kids movies like they used to, there's a lot of boob
Boobs.
jokes in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot
A
of
lot of boob
bust related
jokes.
jokes in this movie for being for the youth.
Tits and ass from
Is a
Chorus
lot.
Line. A
Yeah.
lot of the,
Michael
yeah.
Bennett, we speak your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, because while he's robbing him, or like he's like, oh, like look into the crystal ball. I see a king. I see you being going down in history. And he's sneaking money. Hiss is stuffed in the bag.
Yeah.
He's like, don't question me. And then Little John is taking his booty and like unhooking the wheel hubcaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like robbing the guards from like right in front of them.
That was my
Yes.
Uh,
favorite part.
And then when the moment they look, he's like, "Ooh, tit!"
I'm
And
just
they're
a sexy
like,
lady bear.
"Sexy lady bear." And then they're like, "All right." So they're able to steal basically everything from Prince John. They get caught, of course, running into each other and spilling everything. But they're able to get away, and Prince John is stuck in the mud, embarrassed, crying for his mommy. He has a dirty thumb. And this, as a kid, that like particular character trait upset me because I would like feel bad for him.
Okay, I did
Okay.
also feel a little bit bad. There's just something about like he just doesn't feel loved by his mom and he still has this like childish habit like
Yeah.
stuck and I was like, "Oh, oh honey, like
It's the patheticness
it's
because
pathetic, yeah."
yeah, it like makes me, especially as a kid, I hated anything with like mean or spoiled.
Mm.
Or like
Yeah.
when they got their comeuppance. Like Cinderella it didn't bother me because we don't see them like being like, oh no, we're losers. It's just like
Right.
she's like, I don't give a shit about you anymore. Bye.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
But like anything that I remember reading a Robin Hood book as a kid where the Sheriff of Nottingham's daughter was like a character and she was like mean and spoiled and then she was like crying at Robin and Marian's wedding. And I remember feeling like, now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I don't
just
need to see these people suffer. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
just tell me they're bad and then we'll walk away.
Right.
Because unfortunately in real life, pathetic evil people do exist, but they're just not as sympathetic. They don't
No.
they don't weep for their mom because she didn't love them. They just hate women.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Not as it's not as sad.
Not as sad. It's just
It's
like,
sad for
oh,
me, not for them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Something you
wrong
really
kind of
could have
sad.
gotten over, and now we all have to deal with it. Okay.
And that's
Yes.
why I use BetterHelp.
But follow the link below
Yeah,
Yes.
in the show notes.
in the show
Um,
notes. Not my fantasy slash or not my mental health.
Yes.
Self-indulgent mental health podcast.
Yeah.
Also known as the Score of Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
I own that CD.
Wow, old school.
Yeah. I put that
Wow.
on my iTunes.
Wow.
Wow.
Dedicated.
Dedicated.
Wow. People actually got paid for that. Good for you.
Yeah. I just can't listen to anything that when they say the name Connor, because that's my brother's name, and I'm like, yeah, I'm taking out of
Oh,
this.
yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Fair.
Um, but they get away. We're in Nottingham, the nearby town. The sheriff, who is allegedly a wolf, but I did not clock that as a
I thought
kid.
he was also a
I
bear.
thought he was
I thought
also a
he was just a
bear.
different bear.
I thought he was like a weasel or something as a kid, or
Yeah.
just like an animal.
Yeah.
An
One
animal.
animal.
One
Yeah.
animal, please.
Yeah, and he's taxing everybody. He's harassing Friar Tuck, who's a
Hmm.
badger,
Yeah.
and the dog blacksmith who's injured. Again, this felt too real. You
It's very
know,
real.
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you got a charity donation? Injured
I'll take that.
worker? I'll take that." And he
And the dog is goofy, right? The dog is goofy, but like colored differently.
similar but different design. I think he looks
Okay.
closer to like the dog, the dog in Aristocats, or like,
Which makes sense.
Sure.
yeah,
Dog from
or like a little bit like Cinderella's dog, but probably more like one of the ones in
Yes.
101 Dalmatians or Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, he's not quite goofy. I guess when he
Yeah,
stands up and he's like fully ambulatory, he's a little more, but
He's
yeah,
got the gait.
he's more jowly than goofy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Uh, and then the sheriff goes to crash a bunny birthday party, where this poor widowed bunny, widowed question mark,
I
That
guess.
is a good
Yeah.
point. That's a good point.
is her husband just on the Crusades, which do exist in this universe?
Yeah, right?
And they exist because the snake hypnotized him.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Right.
yeah, the a gay snake invented the Crusades. You heard
Yes.
it here first.
Yep.
Uh, so he crashes this bunny birthday party and he gets a whole farthing, this bunny named Skippy, and he's like, that belongs to the government now.
Yeah.
We need to send Katy Perry to space.
Yes.
And the poor kid is like, oh, my birthday. And then Robin Hood shows up disguised as a beggar who
Yeah.
also gets robbed. But then he's like, ta-da, I'm Robin
I'm
Hood.
Robin Hood, yes.
And the
Mhm.
bunny girl is like, wow, he's hot.
Yeah,
Right.
they do talk about that quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. And
Um,
he's,
well, this on our podcast, this is where we would say Chekhov's begging costume.
Yeah.
it does come up a few
Yeah.
times.
Yep.
And he gives the boy a hat and bow and arrow.
Yes.
And
He's got
it's
so many of
like,
them.
yeah, he's like, have fun at the Ren Fair.
Yeah.
Uh, this whole kind of intro, like watching this movie, I was like, does the pacing exist?
No.
Great question. What
Like,
a great question.
because you're like, okay, you could say they don't make movies like they used to. And albeit older Disney movies do have a not a fully like Save the Cat classic
Mm.
structure
Hmm.
pacing, but you're like arguably like you watch Snow White and you're like this the at least the
It feels like a
beginning,
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the beginning has like a okay, intro, action is happening, stakes are risen, and then it kind of in the middle is very much like antics time, but like there
Mhm.
still is like a structure. And this it's like we're just kind of
Moving
we're
Vibing.
along. Yeah, things are happening. It's
I
like, yeah.
I guess we can go over to Maid Marian's place
Right.
now.
It's not
Yeah.
like they didn't
Why
they needed
not?
to write a transition and they just didn't, you know?
Yeah, there's no really sense of urgency. It's just kind of sequences strung together and then climax time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then they're like, I guess a resolution. But none of these events are, there's like a slight causation in the middle, but there's very little like then
Hmm.
this, you know.
Hmm.
Cinderella
Right.
gets invitation. Mice make dress.
Yeah.
Dress is ruined. You know, like everything in that
Right.
movie is like a sequence.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's kind of a 70s vibe. I do feel like 70s movies are particularly
A little all over
slow.
the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I had to watch Cool Hand Luke in grad school, and
Mm.
maybe it's because we watched it right after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I was like, "Oh, this is good." And then Cool Hand Luke, and they're just like, "Nobody eat 50 egg," and I'm like,
What
"Stop,
are you talking about?
please end."
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much weed were they smoking in the Disney studios where they were just kind of like, nah, it's cool, man. He's just a fox. He just goes about his day, man.
Yeah, it's cozy. Was it Cozy
Cozy.
Cottage Core, Stardew
Yeah.
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Animal Crossing? Yeah. And yeah, if Alice is LSD, yeah, this is definitely weed.
Yep.
I guess we can make boob jokes here. Why not, man? It's the
Why not?
70s.
It's the 70s.
They're not gonna get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the kids go off to play, uh,
Yes.
and they shoot the arrow. So there's four kids. There's bossy older sister,
Yep.
Hmm.
Skippy, little kid who's always running behind, and Turtle
Turtle.
Toby.
Yeah, and
And
turtle.
Yeah.
this Chucky Finster looking ass.
Hmm.
And they lose their arrow in the castle, and they're like, "Do we sneak in to the side door with no guards?" And they're like, "Well, unless this turtle kid snitches,"
Right.
Yeah.
and they're like, "Swear you won't tattletale on your bones," and he's like, "All right."
Okay. Yeah.
Like, fine.
So they sneak in and they see Marian, Maid Marian, who's also a fox,
The
and
vixen,
she's a
Yes.
vixen. They
which is
do
a
say
Yes.
lady
a
fox.
lady
Lady
fox.
Fox.
And my favorite character, Lady Cluck.
OG
Yep.
Madame Morrible, what's up? Carol
Truly,
Shelley, girl, what's good?
she's here. She's in Robin Hood. She's shaking her tits and ass for all
Yeah,
they're
she sure
Very
worth.
is.
Scottish.
Very Scottish. It's a very Scottish chicken. I don't think it's that deep, but like Maid Marian as a character just in folklore, and I definitely want to explore this in other episodes, is always interesting to me because she's like, what is a maid? Like politically, like I
Mm.
know what a
Right.
princess is or a duchess. Like who's she related to? Why does she
Well,
live in a
okay. This
castle?
is my question because they say they don't really bother to introduce why Maid Marian exists at all. She's just like, I'm here playing tennis, and also I love Robin Hood. You didn't need to know when that happened. It happened in the past. We're not going to explain it. But
Yeah.
then there's this
Before
whole
I went to
line.
London.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know you went to London.
Right. Of course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
London.
But then there's this whole line where it's like King Richard's gonna have an
An
outlaw for an
outlaw for an
in-law.
in-law.
I'm like, okay, so that implies that Maid Marian is King Richard's sister?
Niece?
That's the
I
only
guess
thing that.
like because when I think in-laws, I think like direct relations, but I guess technically it doesn't have to be.
So was her mom a lion and her dad a fox?
No, because
And
King Richard's the lion.
yeah. So I'm like, is
So
this they have a lioness sister and she
yeah,
married a fox?
and
Maybe
had
sh
Maid Marian.
Yeah. Maybe a
Fox genes
Scottish
are just.
fox,
Yeah,
and that's why
Hmm.
her lady waiting Scottish. Because we are
because like yeah,
pre-unification of England and Scotland here.
It's
true.
a good point.
Yeah,
Because
and that's what
she's
everyone's thinking as they watch this.
Everyone, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you addressed it.
but is there
Yeah.
also like this plot where she's like promised to Prince John?
No.
I was
Okay.
wondering that too.
Because I thought that was why she was living in the castle at first, that like she lives here because she's supposed to get married to the prince
If
eventually.
if this was the 90s, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
I feel like there are other versions we're gonna watch, maybe Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, where it is kind of implied that like a villain wants to marry her or she's gonna marry somebody. But yeah, I'm always confused as who she is. And she really like if you think of like even just like in folklore, like not just Disney, like the characters of like there's so little to her. Like whenever she like gets a spotlight, they just kind of make her Robin Hood. Like
Yeah.
there's so little that's her specifically. Like
Yeah.
even like your Snow Whites or Sleeping Beauties have like things that happen to them that make them who they are. Or like Cinderella has,
Yeah.
she's gonna have a slipper. She's gonna Little Red Riding Hood will have a hood. Guinevere, like there's at least things that she does, even if we mainly know her as Arthur's wife. It's like, oh, she has an affair. Like there's
Yeah.
stuff. Whereas like Maid Marian is always very like a nebulous, like,
She could be anyone, really.
Yeah.
yeah,
She could just be a lady living in town. Like, she doesn't have to be
Just found
this.
herself at the castle.
Yeah.
yeah. And some movies I think do find a way to use her well, which is why I think
Hmm.
Robin Hood is so like easy to adapt, or at least try to adapt, because she can be anything.
Yeah.
But she is like the OG action movie girlfriend. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just here, you
Yep.
know.
Come
Hmm.
rescue me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, even in this movie, at one point, she's just gone from the story.
Right.
Like, uh, so they meet Marion and Lady Cluck, and they like start play acting because they're like, "You love Robin Hood," and she's like, "That was a long time ago. He doesn't remember me." Uh, and so then they like play pretend, and she gets rescued,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, "So is she trapped?"
Right.
Great
That's the
question.
thing. I'm like, who do you need rescuing from? Are you being held here against your will by the prince?
Because
Like,
you could just walk out that
it,
door.
yeah, no
Right.
one is watching.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
It's
it.
very confusing as to who she is in relation to anyone else.
Yeah, she's just a lady.
Yep, she's a maid,
She's a
She's a maid.
maid. Uh, I kept thinking in this scene too that, oh, do they get caught by the guards or something, and the kids get in
right?
trouble?
I was
Nope.
waiting for that.
I was waiting for that too, and then I was like, oh, I guess not.
This movie and
I guess it's
stakes.
just fine.
Just fine.
Yeah. Uh, but I guess that archery. Well, she's in love and she
She's
wants to
in
be
love.
with Robin Hood.
Hmm.
She's danced around her tower. And Lady Cluck is like, "Oh, he'll come for you." She's got the I like the detail that she has the wanted poster
Hmm.
on
Yes.
her, not on the wall, but like in her dresser, so she can like hide it. Very Zac Efron poster in your locker.
Yep.
Cute little detail. But she's just like, "Yeah, I'm ready to be married, but he don't remember me."
Nah.
Meanwhile, he's out here burning dinner because all he does is think about her, apparently.
Yeah.
They live what seems to be canonically roughly 50 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
That's
Like
a
if
good
he
call.
like if he climbed up a tree a little bit higher, I think he could just
You could
see
easily be
her.
like, "Hey, Marion,
Sup?
what's up?"
Like they carved their names into a tree in the castle, so he must
He's
know
been there
roughly where
before.
where she is.
Yeah, this movie really does not. A lot of movies do a lot of Robin Hood backstory. We don't know.
This is not one
No.
of them.
No, we don't know who he is, if he used to be rich, because he's like, I'm just an outlaw. I can't give my uptown girl,
Right.
the life that she wants. But I again, it's like the pieces are there where it's like maybe Marion's wedding to Jonathan announced. Maybe Marion is brought. She has been out of Nottingham and then she just came back and he hears about this. And I was like,
Right.
I remember her. Yeah. But Friar Tuck is like, hey, an archery competition is announced. There's a golden arrow
Hmm.
and she's gonna kiss whoever wins.
Which, as we all know in this day and age, basically means you're married.
Basically means you're
Yes.
married.
Right.
Could you imagine a competition where it's like, oh, and this lady's gonna kiss you? Well, I guess that's
Mhm.
American Idol and Katy Perry with that
Yeah.
one guy, but just like imagine like, okay, show up to this bake off, you get a
And you will get a
kiss.
little kiss at the end. Yeah.
Show up
If
to
you
the
win
bake
British
off.
Bake Off, Paul Hollywood kisses you on the mouth.
Yeah, that's why everyone watches.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, yep, let's do it. But turns out it's a trap.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Prince John set this up to catch Robin Hood, but he shows up in disguise. Robin Hood shows up disguised as a stork.
another, I think, iconic piece of imagery from this movie. Like, not
Hmm.
knowing about the movie, Robin Hood dressed up as a stork. I was like, right, bet I know where we
Yeah.
are. Right.
Bet. Yeah.
Bet.
And he says to the sheriff, like, oh, like, great to meet you. Like, oh, I wonder if Robin Hood will show up. Being
Hmm.
real subtle. And the sheriff is,
Classic. Yeah.
yeah, the sheriff is like, no way he shows up. I'm not sure if the sheriff is in on the prince's plot. I think he wants to win himself.
Right. Because
Oh,
he also
sure.
loves Maid Marian, obviously.
Yeah. Um, so because he's cheating, he has the vultures like moving
Yeah.
Right.
the
His targets.
target. He's like tricking the archers, um, or like tipping the
Yeah.
bow. Uh,
Hmm.
oh, I have a great question to ask at the end of this.
All right.
Ooh.
That just got me there.
Ready.
Ooh.
Ready.
Can't wait.
But like Robin is still the best. He's the best
Yeah.
archer. He wins, but Prince John is being distracted by
The other John.
the other John dressed up
Right.
as a rich guy. He's calling him
Yeah.
Oh,
PJ.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he loves that.
I thought that was so funny as a kid. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, comedy.
Comedy.
Sir Hiss is blows up a balloon and is propelling around.
Yeah.
But Friar
Hmm.
Tuck shoves him in the ale and he's like, I don't drink. Which is a detail. This is my first time noticing that detail. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but Robin Hood wins. He's gonna get that kiss, and then they're like, "Ha, you're Robin
No,
Hood."
you're Robin Hood.
Right.
He disrobes him, disrobes his outer in front of everyone.
Mm. Not cool.
Yeah,
Not
you should
cool.
not be doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
not ripping people's shirt off
No.
from the back.
Mm-mm.
Uh, unless, if you're at a club and they're playing "It's Getting Hot in Here,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
someone
So take
lets
off
you
all your
unbutton the
clothes.
top of their, like, I used to let girls unbutton my shirt. That was consensual.
Right.
And "It's
Right.
Getting
It's a
Hot in
bit.
Here" was
And it was getting
playing.
hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
It was
just it
not playing in this scene.
No.
and thus begging the question, why not?
True. I think if George Lucas can edit Star Wars.
Yeah.
We could have certainly had it's getting hot in here.
So are you with Pasek and Paul gonna do a folk cover of "It's Getting Hot in Here"
Oh,
for
absolutely.
the movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I see
The
that.
musical movie, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh so he loses or he gets caught, he's gonna be executed, and then John is like, no, wait, let him go. And it's because little John's got a knife to his back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh
For
but
kids.
for
For
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
It's for children.
The sheriff catches him. Prince John's being a coward.
Hmm.
He's a gay lion. Of course, he's a coward.
Hmm.
And then there's antics, a chase scene. Very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are zipping in and out. My favorite character, one of my favorite characters is the crocodile. Because during this whole scene, he's like, I have an announcement. And then he gets trampled. And I'm always like, what are you announcing, buddy?
I wish we could have find out.
We never find
Yeah.
out.
Fanfic writers.
Right in.
Right in. But in this time, Robin and Marion are like, we're gonna get married, we're gonna be together.
Hmm.
She wants 12 children. She's like, I want a TLC show, baby.
Yeah.
If I'm losing my lavish lifestyle, I need to get on TLC
I
to
better be
pay.
getting hella kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
S-
If you're curious, I was wondering. I
yeah.
was like, well, how many kids do foxes have in a given litter? Um, it is varies from 1 to 11,
Mm.
but
Okay.
average is 6. So if
Average is
they
Okay.
got
sick.
so really
Pregnant.
for 12 kids, Maid Marian would only have to be pregnant twice, which is
Great.
not
Okay.
unreasonable. That
Right.
does 12 kids is unreasonable.
They're in love now. They're getting married. They
Yeah.
run off together.
Hmm.
John gets and his men get humiliated. The camp's in ruins, and
Yeah.
Lady Cluck is playing football with the guards.
Yep.
Loved that.
Her
I
bottoms come off,
loved
which is her
that.
legs. Like
Yeah, but
Right.
it's
they
like she's
she
wearing pants, but it's just chicken. It's very
chicken
confusing.
pants.
It's like
Yeah,
that. What's that moment in the Cats movie musical where Jenny Annie Dots unzips her fur?
Yes, exactly.
yeah, yeah. So this is again animals. So Robin Hood is wearing pants. They're just fur.
Exactly.
So yeah, she gets a little tug on her chicken pants, but she's knocking guards over.
Yeah, she's
Uh,
she's a tough lady.
Yeah.
yeah, she's had some concussions, but she's like, I'm okay. And she's the one taunting the guards at the end. She's
Hmm.
like, down with Little John, or down with Prince John, long live King Richard,
Yep,
which John hates hearing about his brother.
Triggered.
Yeah,
truly.
truly. So they all run off, and it's time for a little song.
Yeah,
Well, first we get a love song with Robin Hood and Maid Marian called
Yes.
Love. Creative
Huh.
title. They're
yeah.
just like, Love, I could not sing you this song,
Nope.
this
It
Oscar nominated
no,
song.
it
Nope.
wasn't it wasn't for me. Too slow. Um,
Love.
sure.
Is for the
Yeah,
way you
exactly.
look
At me.
at
Yeah.
me.
Sarah Bareilles famously did want to write this song. Yes, they sing, they look at each other. He gives her like a flower ring. Uh, it's the proto Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Yeah,
Ooh, yep. Yep.
Yeah, with the waterfall and everything. And this was the first time, well, no, Disney was because Aristocats keeps coming up. They had a
yeah,
romance. They were looking at the moon, but it had been a while since we got a big like romance like in Sleeping Beauty where they're like
yeah,
dancing in the woods. Yeah, so they're gonna be together. And he's like, "This is our camp. We're van life."
yeah,
And everyone shows up, and they're like, "Music number time." The phony King of England,
yeah.
Yeah. A romp.
a
Yes,
A
romp.
fun time.
a
Uh,
lot of Aristocats dance moves, as you
yes,
can see.
a
Yeah.
lot of Aristocats, a lot of Snow White, a lot of Jungle Book. They're running out of money.
Yeah. I
Mm.
did read that someone was like, it's not just that they were lazy, it's just that they were like, well, we can't, we don't have time to fuck around. Like, we know these animations work.
Yeah,
Like, we know these ones will work if we use them. We can't be trying new things and have it fail and have to redo it. So do what you know is what it was
yeah.
like.
It's like you're low on budget, you're low on time.
Yeah.
What we
Hmm.
have a library.
It's not time for innovation. It's time to get
Right.
things happening on the screen.
Yeah. And they Disney would do this again in Beauty and the Beast.
Hmm.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
ending is the same dance as Sleeping Beauty. Because they were running out of time and money, and because in you can find one of the old scripts by Linda Wolverton, and it has the movie end with them leaving to go on an adventure. And
Oh.
they're all packed up, they're going on this adventure, but that was like more money, more whatever. So they're
Yeah.
like, let's wrap this up quick,
Make him dance.
make them
Yeah.
dance. We got the animation.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you could do that with CG animation because it works so differently, right? Like with 2D, it's like the basic structure and you can kind of
Oh, sure.
redo. Yeah. Um,
I wonder.
Well, they
And
always
then I
talk about
wonder.
how it looks like they reused like some of the Frozen faces or
yeah.
like they reused the Tangled face onto Frozen, like that all the princesses kind of look the same
Mm,
now.
But to be fair, that is pretty common for Disney. Like if you look
Yeah.
at the adult
right.
women in like the 40s and 50s movies, all kind of looking the same. The 90s, like Belle, Ariel, and Jasmine are all kind of variations on a base look.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I mean, are Eric and Aladdin that different looking?
No.
Um, yeah. But they're dancing, they're singing songs that would get them on a list now
Yep.
because they don't like the government.
Yep.
He's a phony
Yep.
king.
Funny King of England.
Uh, and they say that when he's not prepared, Rob will steal his underwear.
Hmm.
Hashtag panty raid.
Yeah.
Hashtag are you feeling it, Mr. Krabs? But they're just they're dancing, they're having a good time. But John is pissed because this single is hitting the charts.
Yeah, it turns
Yes.
out it went
It really
viral.
was the not like us of its
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was quite a diss track.
it really was.
You need to incorporate that in your Robin Hood musical. You need to
Yeah,
get
Yes.
team up with Lin-Manuel Miranda for a song. You can do a rap battle.
Yep.
that's what this was missing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know. So Everyone is because Sir Hiss is singing it and then sees John, who's drinking,
Yeah.
hear it, and then he's like, oh, and then the sheriff is like, no, you're singing the wrong words.
No,
So he's
we all know this is a certified banger, so you should be singing it.
Right.
correctly.
Yeah.
And then John is King John is Prince John,
Yeah.
pissed. He's throwing around wine. And then he's like, raise the taxes.
Right.
Right. It's the only
This
defense mechanism he has.
and it feels too real.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
Man.
everyone who can't pay their taxes
Straight
is
to jail.
straight to jail, no trial,
Yeah.
straight to jail. Children, little mice,
Yep.
A chain gang of raccoons.
Yep.
yeah. And Alan Adale, he's like, remember, I am in this movie. I'm singing a song
Yes.
called Nottingham.
Right.
We're sad. Uh, and Friar Tuck is mad. Um,
It's
he's
big mad.
like, our church is empty because everyone's in jail.
Hmm.
Again, slightly real based on certain things certain religious leaders have said about what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, everyone's been thrown in jail except the sexton and his wife, the mouse played by Barbara Letty. And she's like, well, if the poor box is empty, I have my last farthing that I was saving for a rainy day. It's like it's a rainy day.
Hmm.
So here's something for the poor, which is like a nod to the story in the Bible of like the
Hmm.
widow's mite, right? Like all these rich, when Jesus is like, all these rich people give so much to the temple, but this widow gave all she had, so it's worth more.
Right.
Um, but the sheriff is like, actually,
Mine.
That's mine
Yeah.
mine.
now. Thank
He's
you.
like, tax the churches. I'm ahead of Henry VIII.
Hmm.
I'm on the
Money,
way.
please.
Money, please. And Friar Tuck is like, that's the last straw.
I
Yeah.
beg your fucking pardon.
He starts bouncing him with his belly. It's a sumo belly battle. He's
Hmm.
like, I'm taking my stick. I'm gonna beat you the fuck up. Cause yeah, you just sold it, little mouse girls. One donation to the
Yeah.
poor.
Hmm.
He's had enough. But Friar Tuck is arrested.
Hmm.
And Prince John he's like, well, I need to get Robin Hood because he's my last resistance. He's the source
Yeah.
of hope. So I need to trap him. So I'm going to execute Friar Tuck.
Yes. Kill a man of the cloth to get your enemy to come out of the
Yeah.
woods.
And Sir
Right.
Hiss is like, man of the church,
Controversial.
controversial. But once certain people reach a certain level of power, they no longer need the religious authority they used to try and get that power.
Yeah.
That's a good point because throughout this whole thing, I was thinking about like how it was funny that there wasn't more like being in cahoots with the church.
Yeah. A lot of Robin Hood movies do have like an evil bishop or something,
Hmm.
because there's a
Right.
lot of stories where Robin Hood is anti-clerical, which
Hmm.
was controversial at the time, but it was like, no, he just doesn't like that they are like taking money, right? That they're like
Hmm.
Right.
rich and their whole goal is to be like giving to the
Right.
poor, but they're not giving to the poor.
Right.
Um, which is so that's a theme in a lot of Robin Hood adaptations. But this one, I think Disney was like,
Mm.
we're not gonna touch
Let's
Let's
not
that.
not
touch
touch
that one. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, they're like, let's keep this movie set in medieval England made for a American primarily Protestant audience as
Hmm.
like non-denominational as possible. Uh yeah, so Robin Hood is hears that Friar Tuck is arrested and he
Yeah.
shows up in his Chekhov's beggar
Yeah.
costume
Yep. Yep.
and talks to the vultures from Jungle Book who are betraying that like, oh yeah, this is a trap for Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay. Good to know.
Good to
Yeah.
know.
Cool. 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 Cool.
They're like, oh, he's just a beggar. He won't tell anybody.
Right. He's blind. Who can he tell?
Right.
Yeah. What's that line from the Bratz movie? You don't look deaf. Well, you don't look
What?
ignorant either.
Great.
Great. I love one of my favorite bad movies to watch. It's always a banger. I think I've only seen it once, but I'm like, yeah, it's always a banger. But
I didn't know there was a Bratz movie,
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, they have sing a song called Gratitude. The mean rich girl who's the principal's daughter is like, you're just brats. Yeah. I love cinema. I love the movies.
Cinema.
Every
Letterboxd.
yeah, letterbox review of Bratz. But so he shows up to save Friar Truck, and he does a very like shenanigan-y, like Looney Tunes meets Legend of Zelda.
Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
disguising ourselves as the vulture to
Yeah.
trick the sheriff because he's napping. Sing Rockabye Sheriff. We're gonna get into like get the key to get into the jail to get all the poor people out, and Friar Tuck included.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, Robin Hood is like, I'm gonna rob the treasury.
See, this is another thing that I don't like. That I don't like main characters who are too cocky.
Yeah,
Like if you'd only stolen about half that gold, which was still quite a bit,
It's a lot of
it
gold.
would probably have been fine.
yeah, you would have gotten out. But like, do they even portray it as a flaw?
No,
No.
Yeah, I want to talk
no.
about Robin
I
Hood's
think it's a
character at the
flaw.
end. Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's a flaw.
I thought even
He
if he
should
just
stop
left,
lying and be
left,
less cocky.
yeah, if he left the
The
bag,
one.
the one, it's like you got everything else.
Yeah.
You don't have to, it's not a completionist thing. Like,
Yeah,
leave and be safe. You are a criminal.
In so many ways at this point.
yeah,
Like,
you
be a
just
You
smart
fit
criminal at least.
right.
so they are able to save everyone, and he's like taking the money and like he like does like a pulley system and he's
Yeah,
putting
Right.
it
It's like
into the jail.
clothesline. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like a clothesline. Yeah, and then they're taking it from the jail and sneaking out with it,
yeah.
including like I love the old owl couple. Very
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
The little mice. We have
Hmm.
the bunny family. So
Yeah.
they're all working together to get out. But then because Robin tries to get the last money, it like wakes up Sir Hiss. Then he like pulls the bed, and Prince John wakes up, and he's hanging out in his jammies.
yeah,
It's like my money. And the castle is alerted. The guards are after him, and they're after the people, and they all get out except for Bunny Mama loses
yeah.
track
Hmm.
of the little girl.
The
She's like,
tiniest. Yeah,
yeah, she's like
Tiniest
my
bunny of them all.
baby. So Robin goes back to save her, and she gets out.
right.
And I'm like, thank God, because when little kids are in peril, I'm like, that's too stressful.
No,
That's
no.
hella stressful.
But he's in trouble. He's running around the castle. They're trying to get after him. The sheriff starts lighting the castle on fire because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
too
they,
focused on revenge. That's his fatal flaw.
Hmm.
yeah. And again, I think that is more than any of the writers thought about the fatal flaws.
Right.
Um, but this castle is on fire. Famously, stone things burn.
Yep. Did sit there and think about that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
wow,
that's a good point. I didn't even think twice about
there's
that. Holy
wooden
shit.
infrastructure apparently.
Yeah, I
I
mean, isn't that
guess.
what burned in
Fair.
Notre Dame? Isn't it like
Yeah.
the wooden ceiling and then the
Sure.
bottom was stone?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they're chasing around, fire's going up, and he leaps off in the moat, but it looks like they shoot him. And they're like, and Skippy and Little John are by the water. They're like, oh no, he's dead. And then plot twist, I'm alive.
This is the other thing that annoyed me. I'm like, bro, if you've got a system to like scuba around, go farther away so they don't
Yeah.
see that
Sure.
you're
Yeah.
let live the ruse for a little while longer. But he basically like pops out of the water and double middle fingers back up at Prince John just to like piss him off.
But it's okay because the movie's over
Right. And then I was
Right.
like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Because that's that on that.
Because like literally the next scene's like everything's fine now.
yeah.
We're
I,
married.
I
Yeah.
always thought, oh, like, does he like defeat Prince John in some way?
No.
No, it just,
No.
He just sort of rides him out, it seems. They just sort of
Yeah.
bide their
yeah.
time until King Richard comes back.
Yeah, they're like, oh, the castle's burned. Oh, your mother's castle. He's like,
No,
Mummy,
my mother, yeah.
Eleanor of Aquitaine. She went on the Second Crusade. She had her own money. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Um, uh,
Girl boss.
Girl boss. She was queen of, she was married to the King of France and the King of England. She got
Damn.
an
Darn.
annulment. Yeah. Girl
Wow.
boss.
I want to see the six musical version of that.
For real.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the special extended edition.
Right.
They do Mega 6 and then she comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sit down.
Yeah.
And it's in the style of like Cher because she's like an
Yeah.
older diva.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
It
Uh
writes itself. Yeah.
yeah, and call them up. So the King Richard's back now.
We
Right.
don't see that happen. It's crucial that you don't know that does not happen on screen. You find that out by reading a sign. So if you're a child who can't read, you really don't know this happened.
Yeah,
Well, then he
Alan
comes out at the
Dale.
end.
Yeah, Alan Dale is just like things have a way of working themselves out.
Right.
We didn't really write a script per se.
Yeah.
And then like King Richard just walks out from the castle being like, I guess I got an outlaw for an in-law.
And
Aren't
I'm
I
like, please
clever?
explain your relationship.
And we're all like, what's the genetics?
Yeah.
What's the genetic? They're married, and part of me is like, is this some of this reused from Cinderella? But no, it's just very similar when they get in the
Yeah.
coach and they're waving.
Right.
Um, because famously the prince doesn't really move, I think. Like they're in the carriage and you see Cinderella waving, but they're like,
And he's just like,
we're not
He's
animating
just a
that
mannequin.
guy.
to be fair,
Yeah.
that's very in character. That man is a himbo if I've ever seen one. He does not know he
True.
needs to wait. Watch Cinderella 3 and you
Oh
will find
yeah.
out
Yeah.
just how
That was
much
a
of a
good we
himbo.
we covered that one. So we
Spectacular movie.
Wait,
highly recommend.
is this animated?
Yeah,
Yes.
Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time.
Yeah. It is the best Disney sequel. I know the line to King Stands will fight you, but I'm like,
No, it's such a good movie.
yeah. There's no reason it should exist, yet you're like, okay.
Okay, so I need you guys to periodically remind me to see these movies.
Okay,
Um,
here's
because
Ian.
okay,
I
yes,
gotta tell
Corrina.
you one part about Cinderella 3 that will make it burned in your mind. You need to watch it, which is there's a part where you recall the mice in Cinderella
I'm aware of their work.
and
Yeah.
the prince, and Cinderella's been like she's in peril, and the mice are trying to relate to the fact that Cinderella is in peril. But of course, they're the mice. They call her Cinderella. So
Hmm.
they're singing this whole song to the prince, being like, "You have to rescue Cinderella," and this dumbass prince is like, "Got it. I will go rescue Cinderella." And they're like, "That is not her name, sir. Sir, you got. It's crucial that you understand that they are mice. Don't take their word for it."
Yeah. Music by the people from the Once Upon a Time musical episode, and
It's
the
like,
Twice Charmed also Cinderella sequel musical on the cruise line.
mm,
I think Megan Hilty covers that song on YouTube.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, so it is fun. It is a good time. Like again, good is a strong word, but it's fun. Wait, so where are we at? Oh yeah, we're just at the end
They're
of this
married.
movie.
They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
married, yeah.
John, his sheriff, they're arrested. They do prison labor now.
Right.
And Robin and Marian are wed. Uh, what a little folksy romp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, no, this is where we're talking about the characters, and I feel like I've been saving a lot of my full criticism of this movie
Yes.
for talking about the characters. Because we ask, who is our protagonist? Do we root for them?
I mean,
And
I feel like I've made my thoughts on the character of Robin Hood pretty clear that I think spends too much time deceiving people and being cocky. So I
yeah.
don't know if I can root for him, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I root for him because he's a nice guy, he's the
Hmm.
hero,
Hmm.
but I think he has no ups and downs.
Yes.
Like
Right.
your other Disney protagonists, your Snow Whites, your Pinocchios, your even your Sleeping Beauty, obviously the protagonist, your fairies, your Cinderellas, they're like experiencing like bad things happen to them and they're like, oh my gosh, this sucks. And then a good
Yeah.
thing happens and they're like, I love it. Here he's just
Hmm.
kind of like vibing the whole way
Yep.
through.
Right.
He's even with like even like the low point, it's a low point for everyone else because they're arrested. But
Yeah.
he's not like, what's happened to my home of
My
Nottingham?
poor town. He's just like,
He's just like, well, I guess we're doing a prison break
I
now.
guess I'll do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because he's one of Disney's first adult male protagonists,
Good
Mm,
point.
and we don't tend to Disney doesn't have those a lot. I think because
no.
we are uncomfortable with them showing emotion.
Yeah. So he just
Right.
sort of is there in there. And
Yeah,
it's his movie and he just sort of stands there
Yeah.
yeah,
and does cool action hero shit.
he does the cool action, which works when you're like the prince
Yeah.
I would argue that Prince Philip probably has a larger emotional range because he gets mad.
Yeah, at least one
Mm.
time he gets mad. So
Yeah,
That's all you
like
need.
it's something. And Robin, yeah, he's just and we also ask usually like, do we ship our main couple?
I'm happy for them.
Yeah, good for them. I
I
feel
Yeah,
don't
like it would be
like,
weird to ship otherwise.
yeah,
there's no one else better. Like, they clearly have no other personality except each other,
Right,
really.
yeah,
I
they're
guess
that couple.
Robin Hood is also about being an outlaw,
right.
Yeah.
but
And they're cute, I think again, yeah. I think
yeah.
their strongest emotional stuff is like when they're with each other, like, okay, they're fun.
Hmm.
But she does like Marian herself, they off in the woods and then climax,
Yeah.
can't be
How does she get
bothered.
home? Like,
I think she just lives there now.
she never goes back to the castle. But they had to go back once. Well, we don't know. Whenever King Richard showed up,
Right.
presumably they went back to the castle at some point.
You
Who
know?
knows?
It's like maybe it's a Shrek and Fiona situation. Like she moves in with
Oh,
Oh,
him.
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do
Cool.
you do you feel an emotional journey for Robin Hood, future writer of the Robin Hood musical with Pesek and Paul?
I mean, in this iteration, not exactly. I think there's some work to do to justify the journey that Robin Hood goes on. I think we need to do a little more to warrant his jailbreakedness. I think we need to up the stakes. Um, but you know, I root for him on a base level.
Yeah. I mean, I think almost all the sequences are kind of like, yeah, they are very cartoony, but you're like, if we just did a little more things to connect, okay, we have
Hmm.
the big tournament,
Hmm.
we have the big jailbreak finale, like that all works if there's just more
A
things to
little
connect
more.
these
Yeah.
sequences.
Right.
Like the actions of our main character cause the other things to happen.
Hmm.
Okay, like, do you know what it reminded me of? It actually reminded me of another Robin Hood adaptation, which I have to assume perhaps you'll talk about one day. But in the comedic Robin Hood Men in Tights
I
parody
knew it.
Yeah.
movie,
We
there's a
do want to
point
talk about that one, yes.
there is a point where they like the characters all break the fourth wall and are just like, oh, it says in the script that Robin Hood gets another shot, so we must get another shot. It felt like a lot of like, well, it says in the script that King Richard comes back, so
So
I
Here
King
we
guess
Richard.
it says
are.
in the script that Robin Hood's gonna do a jailbreak, so I guess it's time for the jailbreak. It's like they were all going off. They had a list of bullet points. They made an outline, and no one thought to turn that outline into an essay.
Right.
Yeah, that really is
It's
this
hitting the Robin
movie.
Hood bullet points.
Yeah.
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 I think that's the perfect way to describe this movie because I'm like, does it have a theme? Taxes are bad. Rich people suck unless they are good rich
Yeah.
people.
I think like not all that it needed, but it would have helped if there was if Robin Hood was at least a little bit like fallible. Like if there was
Like,
just a little
yeah.
bit of like, will he actually get away with being in disguise? Will he actually get away with a jailbreak? Like
Will his
something
cockiness actually come back to hurt him?
right. Is there too much
Yeah.
hubris here?
Which is kind of a an element of Peter Pan. Now, I haven't watched
Yeah.
that movie in a
Mm,
while. We'll definitely have to do a Peter Pan series at some point, but like he's a little asshole
Yeah.
and that like causes issues for him.
yeah.
Right. Robin
Yeah.
Hood being kind of an asshole doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's not an asshole, I think, in the
No.
same way Peter Pan is. He's just kind of a nice guy. But he could have been a little bit too cocky, or like
Yeah.
Right.
they could have made the cockiness a flaw. Whereas this is just like, well, he is good, so
Yeah, damn it, he's good. Yeah.
And they do
yeah.
kind of like they kind of set that up in the beginning when Little John is like, "Are we the good guys or the bad
Right.
guys?" Like there could have been, and this will be in the musical, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Yes.
When I meet with Benji and
Mhm.
The other one.
the other one tomorrow,
Yeah.
how like it could have like there could be just like a real moral like back and forth there in some way,
Yeah. So there could be something, you know.
even if it's just with Little John.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, even him being like, you've gone too far, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah, this movie is really low on the stress, the stakes. Um or this one we usually also ask like, what do we think of our antagonist?
Well,
Prince,
again, I feel a little bad for him because of the thumb sucking.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's more pathetic than evil. Like, he's
Yeah,
menacing, he does
Yeah.
scheme, but he's
they really do make him pathetic.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever played the game Villainous, he is in the main pack of villains, and I was always like, that's a
Him?
surprise. Yeah, I think because they're
Her?
like,
Her.
he can't move his own pack the way,
No.
Hades and Cruella can. So
No.
we'll throw him in the main one where you also get Maleficent and Ursula and Jafar.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I guess that okay. Well, you know what? We'll ask the big question, and then I'll ask my specialty question.
Ooh.
Love.
So we ask, was that your fantasy? And that is a two-pronged question. Do you
Hmm.
like this movie? And is this an adventure you'd want to live out?
Hmm.
So it can be yes to both, no to both.
I don't know if I liked this movie. I think I was fairly neutral on this movie, and as much as like if someone played it for me again, I wouldn't be like, "Ugh, turn that off." But I'm not going to be like, "It's time for my annual rewatch of Robin Hood." Like, I feel like, yeah, it's Robin Hood for babies. Um, couple of bangers in there. Uh, would I want to live out this specific Robin Hood? Well, not as one of the villagers, certainly.
Yeah.
No, that's just living now. It's just like
But
being a
That's
person
fair.
now.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
guess if
point.
I'm going to be a Robin Hood that faces essentially no consequences for my actions and has no emotional ups and downs, like there's worse things.
Yeah.
You just be
Yeah.
vibing in a forest like a little guy, you know?
Right. Yeah. Little guy.
Just a little
Um,
guy.
and as someone who is just a little guy, um, I like this movie fine. Like I enjoyed it. Um, again, I think if I had watched this as a kid, it would have been my whole personality, and
Hmm.
my life might have taken a very different turn. Um, and you know what? Kind of similar to what Corrina was saying. If I could just sort of be a gallivanting, like little mischievous thief boy and really face no consequences, and then still end up married and connected to the aristocracy, but also I guess still stealing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Unclear
Word.
if that, yeah.
Yeah. Unclear
Yeah.
if he retires, but um yeah, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. I'm kind of that's kind of my thing because if I would say this isn't my fantasy in that I don't know if I really like this movie. I don't like dislike it, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, it could be. It's like it's fun, but I'm like, there's so many other things to watch. Like, I,
Yeah.
it just
Hmm.
it gets kind of boring because there's no emotional stakes, and it's almost frustrating in that you could see the foundation there. That like if
Yeah.
you fleshed out the outline, you
It's
could have
almost
a
like
movie.
if they do a remake of this, which we don't wish upon the world, like maybe they could. Maybe they
Yeah,
could plot wise like beef it up a little bit. Because they're always adding shit to these movies when they're remaking them.
yeah,
So maybe in that way it could be an improvement, but I
Right.
don't want to see whatever CGI hell they make of these characters.
That's a big piece of
So
it, yeah.
yeah. Maybe just some makeup, like a little whisker
yeah.
nose.
Oh yeah.
You know, that could be fun.
Cute.
I do
It's
think
giving Ren Fair.
a lot of Disney live action remakes, I'm like, this would slap as a community theater production.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
how I felt about a lot of Snow White. I was like, honestly, some rewrites, your Aunt Kathy playing the evil queen, it is
Come
a
on, Aunt
great
Kathy.
time, you know? Uh, yeah, and also would I live out this adventure? I would say yes, because it's like a low stakes. I'm just zipping around.
Yeah.
Um, and something I forgot to mention in the Snow White month that I just feel like I have to get off my chest is I recently, for a friend's birthday, because they kind of look like Snow White, and I started calling her Blancanieves, with Spanish Snow White. Um, and then she started dressing up as Snow White, and like she does really look like her. So for her birthday, I covered Work Bitch, but I said whistle while you work, bitch.
That's good.
And it was like, you want to know Dopey? Yeah, it was. I learned I don't really like the song Work Bitch. I'm like, damn, like this does not
Yeah.
give me a lot to work with in the parody department.
Sure.
But Yeah. I forgot to say that during a whole Snow White month. So I'm like, let me just throw that out there. But my question I wanted to ask y'all, archery
Mhm.
contest, who's winning? We got Robin Hood,
Okay.
we got Katniss,
Ooh.
we got Susan, Chronicles of Narnia,
Okay.
we got
Okay.
Legolas from Lord of the Rings,
Yep. I know where
and
that's from.
Merida from Brave.
Mm,
Those are all some really good archers.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I might have some bias because I am kind of in my Hunger Games era again right now.
Mm.
Fitting.
Sunrise on the Reaping's out. We're getting more content. Katniss is a very talented archer. And she has to do it to survive, which I think gives her an edge. You know,
It's not just for sport.
it's not just for sport. I so like part, but also she's really bad in the crowd. She's bad under she's not a
Mm.
performer.
That's a good point.
So she
Yeah.
might crack under the pressure of oh, this is an event. Too much PTSD.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can't handle that. Um, I don't know. Is Legolas's archery magic?
Oh, that's
I
a
think
good
he has
question.
like elf
He's got his special elf
vision.
eyes.
Yeah.
Because elves in Lord of the Rings can see all the way to the end of the earth.
Wait,
That
really?
Oh,
is
I didn't know
canonical.
that.
And it's not
Damn.
that the earth is flat, I don't think. I believe they just have special elf eyes that can see over the curvature of the earth. Like,
Oh, like
that's
if there's
why
no mountains or trees or anything, they could just see.
something about their special elf eyes, they can see all the way to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't write it.
Some of the
Um,
stuff Tolkien says, you're like, maybe we just take that out so it doesn't break this story.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't remember enough about Susan and her archery from Chronicles of Narnia. I have
Right.
to assume she's quite good.
I mean, they give her a bow and she shoots things.
All right.
I do think Katniss might be the choice because she hunts to
She's
survive.
and she's been doing it for quite a long time.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was my initial thought too, but I'm getting a little hung up on the public pressure of it all. And again,
Mm,
I
Mm.
don't know Hunger Games very well at all. I just know that she is a bit of like a savant of a shot,
she is.
which is why I do wonder if it would ultimately go to Robin Hood because he shoots off arrows like it's no big and clearly has
Right.
great aim.
And he loves to perform.
He's
And he
got the
loves to perform.
showmanship of it all for
Exactly.
sure. Like Katniss would
Yeah.
be like, "Why are we doing this? This is dumb."
Right.
Whereas Robin Hood's
Yeah.
like, "I love to peacock around, as it were."
Yeah.
But I feel like
Interesting.
in my heart, I do think I would want it to be Katniss. I think she is probably technically the best archer, Legolas magic notwithstanding. I'm sorry, Merida from Brave.
Right.
You're fine. But
She'd
she's
be
also a
shooting for her
child.
own hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a child. She's got a lot of, she can grow and
Is
learn.
Katniss also a child though?
Yeah, but she's a child of war.
She's out of the war.
Fair.
True, Merida's a princess.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, so I guess it's time to plug our stuff.
All right.
Plug it in.
Simpcasters,
Yeah,
tell
that's
Yes.
us.
me, one of your subscribers, about your podcast.
Um, SIMP is the self-indulgent musical podcast where Ian and I do what we want.
Yep.
We alternate between recapping musicals that we have access to watch. Uh, we just finished an episode that will be out soonish, or I don't know. I don't know about release schedules. We just recorded one about Matilda, the musical,
Ooh,
which was a lot of fun. And
Beret
then
Girl.
yes, and then
Mm-hmm.
in between reviewing musicals, we explore other areas of theater, like technical sides. We have interviewed a lot of fantastic guests. Sometimes we
Yeah.
just do silly things, like talk about trying to explain the plot of Starlight Express.
Yeah,
Um,
that whistle song really gave me some emotional
yeah, I'm so
damage.
sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone go listen to Starlight Express.
Yep. I was just
And
telling someone about that today.
yeah, it comes up a lot in conversation once you know about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it really does alter. You can't see the world the same
Yeah.
way. Like
Right.
we all really just let that slide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so check out the Self-Indulgent Musical Podcast. Um,
Wherever you can get your pods, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yep.
then you're on Instagram and the TikTok.
We are.
Yes. Yes. Technically we're on Bluesky too, so feel free to
Oh,
follow
Yeah,
us.
if you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yes, under Simpcasters is
Yep.
us. Uh,
Simpcasters@gmail.com if you want to write in.
yes.
Yeah,
We love email because we're old.
millennials.
Yeah.
Do love an email.
And then I know personally, I have an album coming out,
Woo.
so
Ooh.
the timeline's a little ambiguous as far as when this is coming out in conjunction with when the album will be released. But if you check out Trash Panda, which is my single from a couple years ago, that is on the album. That is a good idea of what the album will sound like. I may uh, bounce over a preview for this episode to Cullen, depending on timing.
To little old
Ooh.
me.
And I try to keep the life that I lead from misleading, but I'm finding that the lessons I keep learning bear repeating, cause I ain't your hometown hero. You can tell Superman, Batman, or Captain whatever, he can answer the call. Send up a prayer, a sacrifice, go on and wait forever. But go tell your father, your mother, your brother, I'm just your friendly neighborhood something or other. And I'm leading from the feeling from within my core, and I'm keeping it together for one day more, and I just can't be sure of what's gonna happen to you when I tell you I ain't your hometown hero. You can tell Superman, Batman, or Captain whatever, he can answer the call. Send up a prayer, a sacrifice, go on and wait forever. But go tell your father, your mother, your brother, I'm just your friendly neighborhood something or other. I ain't your hometown hero. You can tell Superman, Batman, or Captain whatever, he can answer the call.
Ian's new album, Friendly Neighborhood Something or Other, comes out on June 20th, and you can pre-save it on Apple Music or Spotify or listen when it comes out on June 20th.
Yeah. So please feel free to check out Friendly Neighborhood Something or Other. And then maybe, and if you're in New York especially, like I do shows here quite a bit. So come see me live. I have a great band that I'm hoping to get to do more stage time with. So yeah.
Yeah, and where can people find you on social medias?
I'm at iBroski on all of the social media places except the scary one, as we like to say. So that's Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok.
I am findable exclusively on Blue Sky and TikTok under Epic Adventure of. Do not find
Right.
me on Instagram.
Do
I will
not.
not I will not accept you.
Yeah, I've been meaning to add both of you on Blue Sky. Every time I listen to an episode, I'm like, I gotta do
Yes.
that. So what were you gonna say?
No, my workplace blew up on Blue Sky, so like I got a shit ton of
Yeah.
followers just by being associated with my day job. So yeah, I'm very big on the Blue Sky right now.
Which is hilarious to me.
Right?
It's an interesting place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out. So we are Not My Fantasy Podcast. Um, you can find us on Instagram and the TikTok. Allegedly, we haven't posted it in a while. It might be who knows? Not My Fantasy Pod. You can find us there. Please leave us here or wherever you're listening to us, whether on Spotify or Apple. Leave a 5-star review if you mean it. Leave whatever review you mean, but please leave us a review. Let us know what you love about the pod. Share us with your friends. And if you're on YouTube, hello. You can smash that like button with Megan
Same.
Hilty and Catherine McPhee. Yes. And comment below with your favorite or who you think would win in the archery contest.
Hmm.
Let us know who's winning, and then hit that bell notification so you get notified when we release a new video. We're in a Robin Hood series. Time is nebulous right now, so I don't know when this is coming out in relation to the other ones, but we got more Robin Hood on the way with some great guests. And if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Cullen Ever After and on Blue Sky at Cullen C. Um, and I will sometimes I post podcast stuff, sometimes I post personal stuff, my Ren Fair looks, you know.
Yeah.
Slay, yeah. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
Happy
Uh,
to
having
be
us.
here. Yeah.
We had a
yeah.
delightful time.
It's always fun hanging with y'all, and hopefully our delightful time frees Hannah from the sheriff. I'm
Hmm.
gonna send him the episode, and he'll let her out of the tower. And maybe she'll have some answers for us on who Maid Marian is,
Ooh.
True.
who
I
she's
hope she
related
got
to.
the intel.
Yeah, like those, like get those mice to be
Ooh.
their
Hmm.
big
Yep.
ears. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and we'll thank you again, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.